co-host. We've had our share of co-hosts since we've been on the air, yeah?
Yeah, long-time listeners probably are aware of all three, but, some of our newer listeners probably could use the refresher. So why not, give the listeners a look-see into a blast from the past and some current.
Yeah, we do that for them. Yeah. Now jump in, because I definitely want to get your take on each of these guys. So I guess in order to really understand and appreciate the RCWR show and where we are right now, here in this moment, you got to rewind it back and you got to look at the co-hosts that we've had be incorporated into the show. The very first co-host that we had was a young kid by the name of James McConaughey. And the story with James, long story short, I came across him in a wrestling forum. I put like an ad out saying that I needed some help co-hosting, and he hit me up. We started going back and forth, and about 30 minutes into a phone conversation, after I got off the line with him, I said, "This is my guy. That's the man. He's my new co-host." Now, I know we have some of our competitors or colleagues, they're probably listening. They've probably been at this a little bit longer, and they're probably saying, "Man, that's a bad move." And I definitely agree with you guys. But, hey, I was very young and hungry as far as the whole co-hosting thing goes. So I just said, what the hell, what could happen? So he told me up front. He said, "Look, man, I can do the whole WWE stuff. I got that down. I'm a huge WWE fan. Also, I'm a old school fan of WCW, so I love talking WCW. TNA I'm not really familiar with, but I am more than welcome to talk about the product." I was like, okay, all right, awesome. When it came to our Monday night shows, because originally we did do Monday nights for a good hot minute, wasn't it, Tammy?
It was. It seemed to be, at that point, better to do a Monday night show because everything, was fresh and it just happened and everybody wanted to know what happened. So we did have that show on Monday nights. But then, in turn, we ended up doing sort of like a double for you guys. On Monday nights, you guys have YouTube, and on Tuesday nights, you have Blog Talk. So
right. And it's actually two completely different shows when you think about it. But
absolutely.
We'll talk a little bit more about that. I don't want to get a sidetrack. But, originally it was like Monday night shows that we did. So James was awesome on the Monday night shows. But when it came to the talk of TNA wrestling, which was always on Thursdays, for 35, 45, however long we was on the air talking TNA, he would just bury the hell out of the product. And it's one thing when you offer constructive criticism and you say, well, I don't really think that match was executed right. The finish was just sloppy. Instead, this is how it should have ended, or I wish management would have went with blah, blah, blah direction instead. That's good constructive criticism. But if all you can do is say, well, man, that sucks. That match sucks. TNA sucks. That wrestler sucks. Dixie Carter sucks. You keep throwing all those damn sucks out there, you're not going to last that long. And for me, my mentality way back then, even though I was a rookie doing this whole thing, my mentality back then was, well, wait a minute, man. I'm trying to get TNA fans to listen to this show because I want them to feel like they got a place that they can call home and feel welcome to talk about the product. And if we just have this guy alienating, taking a big fat crap on it for the whole time we're on the air, that's going to alienate them. They're going to go elsewhere. And we saw a serious decline in the listeners and downloads that I don't even think James made it to 2 months when I told him, hey, man, I'm sorry, but we got to let you go. As far as Thursday nights, you can still do the Monday night shows, but the Thursday nights, no mas. And this came at a very critical time because we were trying to negotiate with NWA Florida to do a partnership with them and do a type of radio show for them. And he said, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to resign because I really think that what you guys do is very cumbersome. A lot of work goes into it, so it's okay. I'm just going to resign. Man, tell me why, the next day or a couple of days later, I'm looking this guy up on Facebook, knowing damn well me and him are friends. We see each other on the list all the time. I no longer see him on my list. I find out the hard way, Tammy, that he blocked me on Facebook.
Well, you know, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But, you know, unfortunately, a new saying that I seem to have come across is it is what it is. You know, it was good while it lasted to a point. Definitely on point with, you know, the bashing of TNA, and that was certainly something that we couldn't have. And, you know, it sucks that, you know, you guys couldn't stay in contact, but I think he went on his way, and so did you. So.
Yeah. That's just the way it is, baby. I think the Rimrats sing that song. See, now I'm going to have to look that song up. All right, so Diamond K, that's the next guy that came into the show. Let me set this up properly in a nutshell, okay? So Diamond K, he was actually a correspondent for Pro Wrestling Report. And it got him to the point where he was actually co-hosting with one of our Twitter buddies, Meathead, for Sudden Impact Radio. And whenever I heard Diamond, it just really kind of seemed like he was kind of tired, or maybe he wasn't really getting his chance to talk because Meathead was so dominating. And it serves Meathead, right? Because, I mean, he's been with those guys for a good minute. But I remember there was this young kid by the name of Matthew Thomas. He was always calling into the show. He was just a regular caller. He would just call in each week, and eventually it got the other heads at PWR noticing him, that they decided to make him be a correspondent. And I remember on Monday nights, they would always have like a little round table discussion, and whenever it came down to Matthew and Diamond, Matthew always got the upper hand. And eventually, and this is according to Diamond, he told me how Damien decided he wanted to scale back his role with the shows drastically, that he just wanted to use him sporadically, you know, just use him here and there, and that wasn't suitable for Diamond, so he decided that he was going to leave completely. So, you know, I find him out on Twitter asking, you know, why did he leave? I find out. And I said, oh, you know, well, that sucks. I really felt you didn't really get a chance to say your piece on there. He agreed with me. A couple of weeks later, he hit me up and said, hey, man, we should collaborate, you know. Let's see if we can make something happen. So he ended up coming on our show. In return, I ended up popping up on his show. And a couple of weeks later, he said, hey, man, we did pretty good. The chemistry was on point. We should do this co-hosting thing on a permanent basis, or we should do this on a regular basis. I said, well, you know, I am actually looking for a co-host. Let's do it, man. Let's do it. So Diamond lasted about 90 days, and the one thing that I can say about Diamond is a renaissance man. This is a guy that has his hands dipped into a lot of stuff. I mean, he's an author, he's DJing, he's interviewing rappers, he is a rapper, he's doing music videos, setting up music videos. I mean, this guy is just doing all different types of stuff. He's got his hands dipped into a little bit of everything. And when it came to the RCWR show, the first couple of weeks he was on point, but then afterwards he would start showing up late, which I would find out is a track record that he took with him from other shows that he was affiliated with, including PWR. His energy, it was just really, really low. I mean, he sounded like he needed some sugar ASAP, or like some 5-hour energy drinks, because he just sounded like so exhausted. And it was so weird, Tammy, right? Because we actually checked out some of his stuff that he does not associated with the RCWR show. And the guy that we got on our show, it was like two completely different people.
Absolutely. It was two completely different people. You know, it just sounded like he had had a full day and he was completely spent. Unfortunately, like you said, he's a Renaissance man, so he's kind of dipping and dabbing into everything. But unfortunately, you know, our show can't suffer because you have your own show and you're doing 10 million things in one day. We loved having him, but unfortunately, in all aspects, when he was there, everything was suffering.
It was, especially when you're wondering, hey, is Diamond going to show up tonight? Are we going to have a show? And I remember I sent him a courtesy email, and I said, look, man, don't worry about doing the shows for the rest of the week. I want you to take the time out, think about if this is something that you really want to do, and if so, one of the things that we need to work on is communication. Now, I'm sure many of you listeners will feel me on this. If this guy's in Maryland, I'm in Maryland, and I'm saying to myself, hey, maybe we can kind of work on our chemistry together so that we can bring it on to the show to have a better product, that's not a bad idea, right? Right? I mean, so, I'm trying to figure out ways to interact with him outside of the show. All he wants to do is show up for the show, do the damn thing, roll out. So basically he's treating the RCWR show as a job, and I'm very happy to say, as I reflect back on 300 episodes, we've never treated this as a job. I treat this like a really cool fucking hobby. I'm always happy when I'm getting ready to do this. And so, Diamond's reply, it was very nasty. He was talking about how I needed a one-on-one training course in radio broadcasting and all that other stuff. And it was unfortunate the way that things had ended, but at the same time, he was just causing so many restrictions, even right down to the point where during his tenure, we couldn't really talk about random stuff like we like to do on our shows. For him, I thought we were just talking about wrestling, and it was obvious that he didn't spend the proper time, really listening to our episodes and getting us down to figure out what we are about. As I close this, though, I would just like to say that I wish that things didn't go as sour as they did with Diamond. I wish that things could have been handled a little bit more differently, but then at the same time, I don't know how much more friendlier I could have been in my last communication met there with him. But he still has my respect because he's got his hands dipped into a lot of different things, and that's the truth. I wish him nothing but the best, and I want nothing but, if anything, I want for him to really be able to enjoy life, because he's got his hands dipped in so much stuff. I've seen people like that before. They miss out on the things that's the most precious, and I say sometimes to pull a quote from that movie with Tom Cruise, Vanilla Sky, it's better to kind of take a step back and be able to smell the roses, take in the bitter with the sweet, Tammy?
Absolutely. Yeah. Having your own show and doing what you do is great, but you honestly have to sort of take a step back every now and then and making sure that you're not missing out on life. Now, grant you, your shows and everything are a part of your life, of course, but, you got to make sure that life isn't passing you by.
Mm-hmm. You see, my black ass took Thanksgiving off. Oh, no way I was doing a show.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's what happened.
I said family first for Thanksgiving. I love my listeners, but Thanksgiving first.
Let's be for real, Lee. You wanted to eat.
Yeah, I wanted to eat. I had to fix this, too. I'm still recovering, man. Joe Rodriguez. What can I say about Joe Rodriguez? You won't find me saying anything bad about Joe Rodriguez. He was our last co-host. Long story short, I had heard him try out for another show as co-host, and I said, man, this guy sounds really good. He's got a nice, warm personality. The first thing that really, really kind of jumped out there at me was that he had energy. And I said, man, this guy would be a great compliment to me. He's hungry. He's got that whole mindset down. He kind of reminds me of where I was when I first started off and how eager I was to learn everything I could in this field. So I reached out to him. I asked him if he wanted to try out as co-host, And he said, yeah, sure. Now, I did something a little bit different this time around, which I need to give credit to the show that I heard him appear on, as it was originally their idea about this whole competition thing that they were doing, or not really competition thing, but just doing a whole voting contest and all of that. I got to give credit where it's due, as it was their own idea. I kind of shook it up a little bit, but I did borrow it from them. But I did it because I wanted to make sure that this go-round, it wasn't just my decision alone, that Joe would be the man because you, the listeners, wanted Joe to be the man. And that's exactly what had happened. I was very well aware of those that had negative things to say about Joe, but ultimately he got the job, and he was awesome, man. Some of you are probably saying, well, if he was awesome, how come he's not here? Well, long story short, what ended up happening with Joe was he made the transition from one employer to another. And you guys know how it can be, especially you men out there. You know how it can be when you go to a new gig. Tammy, I'm sure you can agree to this. You're the rookie. You know, they promised you a set of hours and days that you'll work, but then they switch it up because you're a rookie. That's why. So for Joe, go ahead, Tammy. I'm sorry.
No, that's absolutely true, and somewhat unfortunate for us. But yeah, when you're the new kid on the block, they they have free reign basically, and
exactly.
They, like you said, they promise you one thing, but a lot of times it's not quite that way. Certainly wish him nothing but the best in the new position.
Scheduling conflicts, folks. But I told him, I said, any time that you get your stuff fixed, you get it all straightened out, there's a seat for you, man, if you'd like to go on ahead and you'd like to do this. So, you know, the seat's right here for Joe whenever he gets it together. But, yeah, Joe's the very best. We love having him on board. And, yeah, that's the history of the co-hosts, folks. I think in retrospect, Tammy, as I look back on all three co-hosts, say what you will, there was a little bit of good, there was a little bit of bad, even a little bit of ugly mixed in between. But there's one big positive thing that I can take from all three of them, especially individually, you know. I wouldn't be where I'm at right now if these guys were not incorporated into the show, because at one point I was in a position where I needed a crutch, where I needed to rely on somebody else to help get me through an episode because I didn't have confidence in myself. And so in the pairing up with James McConaughey, that's what I found. I found that crutch. With Diamond, it was, hey, okay, this is a guy that has worked with one of my colleagues. Maybe it's with that aura that he has, maybe that drawing power that he may have that's coming with him from that. Maybe I can pick up a little bit of something from him. So, you know, I kind of took something from Diamond. And then with Joe gave me more enthusiasm. Joe gave me more energy. So in retrospect, all three of those guys, my hat's off to them because, you know, they did help shape me. They played a vital part in shaping this show to where it is today.
Very well put. Very, very well put. You know, the show has grown so much, you know, since episode 1. And we honestly, besides your, you know, perseverance and wanting to make the show better every show, but big, huge thanks to all three of them for what they brought to the table.
A big thank you, yeah, because without them, there's no telling where this show would have ended up. And that's the honest to God truth. So